judicial disposition in this file. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Ms. Naja Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Pelham.
Chelsea Pelham, foster care worker.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Mother LaDawn Hardnett.
Ms. Hardnett, your name for the record.
LaDawn Hardnett.
Thank you. And it's nice.
Thank you, Your Honor. I visited with the child face to face. In the absence of his mother's progress in the case, we had a good change in this case. He is now in the care of a local person who is also raising this child's brother and another young man. It is amazing to watch someone in the community take over where a young child needs them and train him and give this person in our community I hadn't met before, but I knew of his reputation as a minister of some kind, and I'll have to look into it more. But to meet him in person and to watch him work with a child and lovingly have this child put his shoes where they belong and not jump from bed to bed, and these two choices, wow, what an asset to the community. And the older brother is there too. So we had a change in placement from maternal aunt to this local family, and of course, all the little child wants is to go home to mom. So if mom can get her services done, we would have a really great victory. But at this time, all his needs are met in his current placement. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
Your Honor, if Ms. Hardnett can be sworn in, please.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ms. Hardnett, did you receive a copy of the court report that was prepared for today's hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is there anything in it that you disagree with?
I'm really grateful that you guys did find a nice place for both of them to be. So no, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. The court report indicates that for the most part, it seems that you've struggled to progress with your case service plan. Do you agree with that?
I'm sober. That's what I was asked to do. I cannot do counseling. I don't want to talk about it as a child. I don't want to bring up any of that stuff. It's going to rehash terrible memories that I've tried to put away. I'm working now and I do have a new home, but that's, I haven't been actively speaking with Ms. Chelsea because of my attitude issues. I got upset. I apologize to her.
Okay, thank you for that. Where are you currently working?
It's a cleaning business. I clean houses and own a private shop.
Okay. And have you provided any proof of your income to Ms. Pelham?
No, I told you we haven't been speaking.
And you said that you have a new home?
Yeah, I live in a different area.
Okay. But are you still in Adrian?
No.
Okay. Are you still in the state of Michigan?
Yes.
I know that you said you're not willing to participate in therapy at this time. Are you taking any psychiatric medication or having any psychiatric care from like a medical professional at all?
No, I'm looking into it though. I just wanted to move some to services desk because I've been looking into options. They have online things you can do and counselors that you can do video chats with. So I just haven't found something that I'm liking yet.
During this review period, it seems that there hasn't been a ton of compliance with parenting time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I haven't been able to get back out here as much as I'd like, or to Ida. He was out in Ida. I couldn't go to Ida and then come to Adrian and loop all the way back to where I stayed. It's too expensive.
Okay. Have you, I know you said you haven't talked to Ms. Pelham much, but in this review period, have you tried to discuss with her?
I will say that I do talk to him more than she knows because she doesn't even bounce around so much. I do talk to him more than she's aware of.
Okay.
And see him more than she doesn't. So I don't know. We just have a weird relationship because she set up several appointments and every time she gave me the dates and times, magically it's the wrong day and the wrong time or the wrong location. So it's been difficult dealing with her. And I feel like my hands are tied, so I don't know what to do. All I'm staying sober and working, and that's all I can do.
What program or what are you doing to maintain your sobriety?
Working. Right now, I'm looking in the AA services out where I stay.
Is there anything else that you'd like to provide, any updates that you would like to provide to the court?
No, ma'am.
Well, I have no further questions of you right now. Other attorneys might.
Okay, any questions, Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Your Honor. Where is your new housing? What city?
Lincoln Park.
Okay. And do you have a lease, or are you staying with friends?
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
staying with friends.
Okay. And how much are you earning with your new employment?
I'm just starting, so I haven't got my first paycheck yet.
Okay. And you're still asking this court for your son to be returned to you, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm, like I said, I am grateful for where he's placed at. I just really want to be able to have, I want to do the counseling and everything so I can be set up to not lose him again. So I really know I need to do the counseling. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to. But I felt that if I wasn't sober and I keep coming to court, I'm not showing y'all nothing. So I just want to be sober. I needed a little time to get it together.
Okay.
I didn't want to see my son being under the influence either. So
Yeah.
that's why I haven't been active to see.
What's your sobriety date?
I've been 2 months clean.
Okay. And you just stated that you are willing to do counseling?
Yes, I mean, if I can't get it back and I have to do it, then that's what I'll do. But I would not like to talk about my childhood trauma. And as a matter of fact, a lot of these people here, they know that I was traumatized and I was taken out of my home as a child too. And they know it. And I feel like I'm being systematically discriminated against.
Yeah.
So I just whatever y'all want me to do, I'm gonna try to do something.
Okay. So you understand that your case service plan has counseling in it, right?
I know. It's just hard to talk about childhood trauma, but maybe if I just get it out and do it, I'm gonna just try.
Okay.
It's just really hard to talk about that stuff.
Right. I understand. I just want to make sure that you know that it's important to complete those things in that service plan, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you plan to be more available for parenting time now that you've been sober for a while?
I decided to seek for active employment so that I can, because I just don't have the money to go back and forth and spend it on food and fix my vehicle. So I do have a little bit more money to see him more often. And Chelsea has also told me that she will provide gas cards if necessary.
Perfect.
I have not reached out to her for it.
Okay. What other positive things have happened in your life since the last review period?
I get to see Emmanuel a lot more. I get to see both of them a lot more, which is kind of crazy because, like I said, she doesn't know all of the times I see him. Sometimes I'm at the park and I'll see both my sons or run up and give them a hug. Or I found out where the pastor lived one day and I saw my son riding a bike and I stopped. I almost got into a car accident. I pulled over and gave him some pizza. So it is nice that D'Angelo is active in the community because I get to see my kids in other ways too and watch them be successful.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to tell the court today? I'm sorry.
No, ma'am.
Okay. I don't have any other questions for you, but the other attorneys might still, okay?
Ms. Heiss?
When you see the kids, you're not always making Chelsea aware of that, right?
No, I told you we had a falling out.
So you have support people in your life.
Yes, very much so.
Have you shared your case service plan with your support people?
It's really hard to talk. This is something I've never dealt with. Honestly, I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to handle all of this stuff. I do have mental issues, so I just closed down.
Your case service plan, the plan to get Samuel back in your care, have you shared that with your support group people?
No, I have not.
How about the court report? Have you shared the court report with your support people?
No,
Are you not asking for any support from them to get Samuel returned to you?
no, that's not it at all. I thought this was like confidential information, or like I didn't know I was allowed to share it with other people. I don't know how this stuff works.
So the older child that is in Mr.
D'Angelo,
Boone's care, his name is Emmanuel, and what, you're seeing him and Samuel through Mr. Boone?
no, I didn't say that. I've seen him several times. Okay, Mr. Boone, he does a lot of activities in the community, and my mom is active in that community too. So if my mom is working at her food pantry, I'll go and see her and help her, and my kids might be there with her, and we spend time together.
Okay, so do you think you're supposed to report those contacts to Chelsea?
I just want to see my kids. I don't know. I don't know.
What do you think the kids want? What do you think Samuel wants?
His mom.
Right, and are you doing the case service plan so he can have what he wants?
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing my best. I really had to get sober. It's hard I've tried to reestablish housing here in Lenawee County, and I've been, people have been tearing my vehicle apart and things like that. And it's just been traumatic, so I had to leave here.
Okay.
And if I do get a place, these people might hurt my son. Just like I'm in this situation now, they were outside my house, tearing up my vehicle and all of my stuff outside. It's
Here in Adrian?
Yes.
Okay, so
And I have several police reports to prove it.
your older boy is doing very well in this placement. He's a good student, he's respectful, nice young man. Do you have an opposition? Do you have any reason that Mr. Boone couldn't be a permanent placement for Samuel?
Because it's my job to take care of him. It's
Okay.
his mother.
Okay.
I'm not a terrible parent. I don't abuse children or anything like that.
Emmanuel's in a guardianship. Okay. Okay, thank you, nothing further.
Okay, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Berger, any other questions?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We return your seat.
Thank you.
Anyone else you'd like to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
Ms. Pelham, please. Good morning, Ms. Pelham.
Hey.
Did you draft the court report that is before the court today?
I did.
And are there any updates or modifications that you're aware of that need to be made to it or any of the attachments?
No, there are no updates.
In this report, you've gone through and indicated whether Ms. Hardna is compliant with any of the elements in her case service plan. One of the conditions that caused the child to come into care was substance abuse. And it looks like she's currently doing random screens. Can you just tell us a little more about that process or whether she's been assigned a color or anything like that?
Sure. So in January, I did make a referral for her to go to Lenawee Development Corp to have random drug screens as often as she sees fit, honestly. She has not gone even one time. So I have been trying to do the drug screens. We use forensic fluids whenever I see her, but as noted in the court report, I've only seen her once this reporting period, and she did drug screen for me. And she came in unannounced. I don't consider it random because she did come in unannounced and asked for a drug screen, and she did test negative for everything but marijuana.
Her testimony today indicates that she doesn't speak to you because your relationship has, I guess, fallen apart in part due to you, I believe she said, like, conveniently telling her the wrong dates, times, locations for meetings. Do you have anything in response to that?
Yes, every Zoom meeting that we have for family team meetings, I will text her the link to it because I don't know that she always has access to her email. And right on the text message, it says the date and time, and she joined a day early, and I texted her because it'll send me an email when people join, and I texted her and let her know it's tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then she told me that I was lying, even though right in the text message it said the correct date and time, and she was early. I think at this point, it's just kind of easier for her to blame me instead of taking accountability.
Other than your one contact this reporting period, did you have any idea where Ms. Hardnett was living, where she was working, what her intentions were as far as parenting time?
I had no idea, none.
Were you aware that she was randomly seeing her children?
I have not heard that before.
Do you have a reason to believe that her testimony is true?
I do not. Sam, or the minor child, has been with his current placement just for a couple weeks now, and the placement and I have a pretty good relationship, and I imagine if something were happening, he would tell me. And the prior placement as well, they would have definitely told me if LaDawn was having any kind of visitation. And everyone's aware that any visitation is supervised. So none of it really makes sense to me.
During the family team meeting on August 20th, that Samuel was still with the child was still with his maternal aunt, correct?
I believe so.
Do you recall if the maternal aunt indicated the last time LaDawn saw her child was at least since March or the springtime?
Yes, that is correct.
And did the aunt indicate that she had also not had any calls with the mother since that point in time as well?
That is correct.
At this time, do you believe that it's in that there's been sufficient progress to continue towards the goal of reunification?
I do not believe that.
And are you asking the court to change the goal to adoption?
I am.
Is the current caregiver willing to provide permanence through adoption?
He has told me that he is.
Can you give us any insight as to how mom's lack of progress in her case service plan and lack of, I guess, commitment to her child are impacting her child?
The child is greatly impacted. He tells me every single time I see him how much he misses his mother. The inconsistency is incredibly hard for him. I know that LaDawn did make an unannounced visit. I believe it was around August 23rd. It was the same day she came into my office to see me, and she went over to see the minor child. And after that, he was very distraught because he assumed that he'd be seeing his mother more, and that has not been the case. And I will say, LaDawn and I talked last week, and she did ask for more parenting time, and I told her to reach out to me this Wednesday or Thursday, and I did not hear from her.
What is the current recommendation for parenting time?
At this time, supervised at least once a week for at least an hour, but I'm willing to do more, if things go well.
Given the inconsistency of Ms. Hardnett with her case service plan, do you think that continuing to offer parenting time would be beneficial to the child?
At this time, I have to say no, only because it's been a constant pattern of inconsistency since the removal. And this child desperately needs to heal, and LaDawn coming and going is just disrupting that.
For just the record's sake, regarding services that Ms. Hardnett needs to comply with for her case service plan, are you still willing to provide referrals for therapy, drug screening, psychological evaluation, and all those other outstanding matters in a location where she is able to easily get there?
Absolutely. I want nothing but success for her.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the court today?
I don't believe so.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Jenna. Move to admit the court report with its attachments.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. It is received. Ms. Berger, cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Pelham, are there any areas that my client has been doing well in her case service plan?
Not that I can think of the top of my head. I will say prior to this reporting period, she worked really well with me. I don't know kind of what changed in this reporting period. But at this time, really, there's not very much that she has been successful at. I hear she has employment and I'm grateful for that. I just don't have the proof, to say that she actually does have that.
Okay. And do you have any way to verify her sobriety?
I can give her a drug screen. That's about all I can do.
Okay. So you haven't been able to consistently screen this reporting period?
That's correct.
Okay. And has she ever been scheduled for a psychological?
Yes, she has been scheduled for 2. The first one was my fault. I gave her the wrong address. But then the second one, I reminded her the day before. I asked if she needed transportation assistance, and then she just didn't show up.
Okay. Is the facility willing to schedule another one for her?
I will have to ask. I can't promise because 2 have been missed, even though one of them was my fault, the other one was hers. And I don't know if they will be willing to, but I will definitely ask. But I would need her to actually go.
Okay.
I do.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Ms.
The recommendation to change the goal towards adoption, is the current placement available for permanence?
I believe so. He's told me that, yes.
In the child's trauma assessment, the recommendation, mother has received that as part of her court report in prior review periods, correct?
That's correct.
And the recommendation indicates that mother should be showing sobriety consistently before she has visits, is that right?
That's right.
And this drug screen coming positive for THC, do you consider that still to be a sober drug screen?
Yes.
If she were in substance abuse treatment, it may or may not qualify as a clean drug screen, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That concludes my report, my questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Recross, Ms. Berger?
No other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. We return to your seat. Anyone else, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Berger?
Your Honor, I think my client was trying to speak earlier, so I would recall her so that she can say what she needs to say.
Ms. Hartnett, would you like to come back up and speak?
Yeah. Oh, his hair. Oh my gosh, y'all messed my toes up. Sorry, there's so much hair on y'all chairs.
I don't know where it came from. Sorry.
Oh, that's probably you. Sorry.
Okay, Ms. Berger.
Reality.
Thank you. LaDawn, I heard you a little bit earlier wanting to speak up. What is it that you wanted to say?
The reason we fell apart is because I feel like she be lying a lot, and I don't like being lied on. And it's just it's too many lies. Like she telling y'all that I haven't told her this, and I have the text messages to prove that she has told me several lies. And that's, I don't know, maybe because she's a licensed professional that I'm not believable, but I don't know.
Okay. What things specifically are you questioning?
I also have pictures of me, my child, so I don't know, the 20th or whatever she said the last time I saw me.
Right. So what specific things do you think that she lied about?
She lied about, well, I know for sure the psychiatric thing was the one thing that she didn't lie about. But everything else, because I had the Zoom meeting, she got on there and it was the right date and the right time that she sent on the text message. And I had a text message saying, oh, well, it's tomorrow. No, you didn't text me on that date. So I don't know. And then the next day I got back on there and nobody was available at all. And she never texted me back and I never heard from her. So I don't know, I'm confused.
Okay.
Why is she trying to make it seem like I'm not trying to at least talk to them? I want to know about my child.
Okay. And you are asking that the court continue with the plan of reunification. Is that correct?
No, I'm happy where they at. If they're in a good place, so I'm happy. But yes, I want to try.
Okay. Okay.
But I do still need the counseling and stuff. So I agree with that.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to say today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Hexton?
No.
All right, thank you. Anyone else, Ms. Berger?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thanks.
No witnesses today, thank you.
All right, closing comments then, beginning with Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm glad to see that Ms. Harnett showed to today's hearing. I know that she was not at our last hearing, and I'm hopeful for her sobriety as well. Unfortunately, we don't have any proofs for what she has said. We don't have proof of employment. We don't have proof of adequate or stable housing. We don't have proof of sobriety for long term. Her testimony was at first she's not willing to do counseling, and then she was. And there's just a lot of inconsistency in everything that she has said as well. And as Ms. Pelham said, this child, one of the main concerns that brought this child into care was this little guy found his mom unresponsive from an OD, and he has suffered a great amount of trauma and needs that stabilization and a space to heal and feel secure and safe. I think there's agreement across the board that he has been in placements that have and are allowing him to do that. But the disruption from the inconsistency of mom does cause him a lot of emotional hurt. And for those reasons, at this point in time, I know that it is early on, but we are asking the court to reconsider the goal of reunification and change it to adoption. For several months, mom did not seek custody of this child, did not visit him, did not talk to him, that we're aware of. That's what the caregivers have said, and nothing to the contrary has been provided to the caseworker. And for those reasons, we would believe that would constitute abandonment, a ground for termination at this point in time as well. So for those reasons, Your Honor, we are asking the court to change the goal to set this for a review hearing, at which point in time we would also intend to have a termination hearing then as well. Thank you.
Ms. Berger.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you've heard today from my client, she is willing to continue working on these services, and she is still asking for reunification. I know that she is grateful for the placement of her son and where he is placed and that he's being taken care of, but she is asking for more time. I would request that we get another psychological scheduled as soon as possible. That way she can move forward with her mental health services, and that she be permitted to do things like random or scheduled drug screens to help her with her sobriety. So at this time, we are asking for another review period, and we're asking that the goal stay the same. Thank you.
Ms. Heiss.
Lincoln Park's got to have drug screening available up there, but the problem isn't making it available, it's making sure mom gets there. I think at this point, instead of asking for another psychological evaluation, there are a lot of mental health records in this file. We should have a psychiatric evaluation to update her progress and her health or her status of her mental health. It is not helpful that she's seeing the child, as she indicates, and she has pictures of it outside of visits. I can't tell you, she has the psychological evaluation. I hope the mom will review the psychological evaluation and consider what she's doing from the child's perspective. This is not helping him, and we don't want negative outcomes for this child. He has had I would ask you also to request a trauma screen, so that now that he's in this place, that we can have a trauma screen and see if his numbers are any better. Having been removed once is a trauma trigger. Now we're at twice. Having a mom needs to follow the recommendations, and then I joined the department in saying that adoption is right for the child. I hear that it's not right for the mother, and I don't disagree that might not be right for her, but it is right for the child. Thank you.
All right, the court finds all interested parties have noticed for purposes of today's review hearing, which was also a permanency planning hearing, and I misspoke again, I'm sorry. This is our third regular review in this case. The goal was changed last time to a dual goal of adoption and reunification, and that was in light of the continued barriers that were in place in the last hearing. But we also didn't have Ms. Hardnett with us here in our last hearing, and we didn't have her here sober either. So I want to recognize that, and I am going to continue the goal as is rather than just directing right towards adoption in order to support and encourage her, and to also give some time to see how this child does in his new placement. He's just moved, as Ms. Heiss just said again, and it sounds like he's doing really well, and I'm sure he is, but let's allow that to settle in a little bit more as well. It's not been very long that he's been moved there with his brother and with Mr. Boone. So I'll look forward to some more updates about him, including that trauma screening. I would also like DHS to provide documentation that you've done a referral for Ms. Hardnett for a psychiatric evaluation within 28 days with a provider local to her. So Ms. Hardnett, that will require you to communicate with the caseworker. And if you want to just do that by text message so you can keep track of what it is and help you avoid conflict that way, that's a perfectly respectable way to do it.
Thank you so much.
Please make sure that you do ask for and see your son more regularly.
Legally.
And yes,
It was really hard on both of us when I see him in there now, and I do understand that it does damage him. So, and I'm aware.
well, and part of what I have to look at is your bond, and your bond.
I've never prevented without it.
Well, in order to grow that bond, you have to see him. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm not going to allow a deviation from the regular parenting time schedule, but Ms. Hardnett, you will have to show us that you're willing and able to visit with him. We'll ask the department to work with her on scheduling that. I will allow, if they want to, Mr. Boone as well as the aunt to do some supervised parenting time in order to try to work around employment and some of the other barriers that I heard about today with transportation. So please take that into account. And if I knew it would be great to do a family team meeting, asking Ms. Heiss to be there to look at parenting time, ask Mr. Boone to be there, ask the aunt to be there, and set up a plan. So this is your opportunity, Dawn.
Did you hear I got him a bike?
That's good. All right, so we're gonna come back and look at this again, November 22nd at 2:30 for permanency and review. And it's balls in your court.
Yes,
Okay.
girl.
All right, that's all for today. We're on record on what's been docketed as the third review and a permanency planning hearing in this case. We've had an extensive conversation, the attorneys at a sidebar before we started to go over some fairly rapidly moving pieces in this case. And I'll let the attorneys make any comments about that after appearances.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Ms. Sasha Thomas, counsel for the department, present on Zoom, as well as Ms. Kristen Smith.
All right, Ms. Sasha, I apologize, but your microphone is doing the thing where it's very soft. So if you could check that. And then Ms. Kristen Smith, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, Kristen Smith, foster care worker from Catholic Charities.
Alexis Stang, appearing on behalf of Ariel Berger for the respondent mother.
Very good. I don't have Ms. Hardnett here. Have you heard from your client, or do you know if Ms. Berger has heard from her, Ms. Stang?
I know Ms. Berger has not, and I have not. Ms. Berger has been contacted from clients, so.
She's what?
Ms. Berger has been contacting me if she hears from a client that I'm covering on, and she has not contacted me on this one.
Thank you. All right, very good. So we'll just look for anything that Ms. Smith might have as it relates to that piece during her testimony. Let's go first to Ms. Heiss. Any comments about our sidebar before we get started?
Yes, Your Honor, I just wanted to talk among the professionals and get some things worked out before we came on the record. There was a family team meeting that I was not a part of, and some changes made so that the child changed placements. I did receive DHS 69s on the days that the boy was moved, but I wasn't part of the FTM that started the movement. So I would hope to be a better team member so that I am included in those moves in the future. I have some input on that decision making that I'd like to bring to the group. So I have requested that maybe we family team it again, the issue of his placement. Thank you.
Any comments about this sidebar, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. We did spend a significant amount of time in a sidebar discussing, I think like maybe who knew what at what time, and the information that needed to be shared amongst the attorneys. So I was able to forward Ms. Stang the information that I had once I was able to receive that. But otherwise, I think Ms. Heiss has said essentially what we discussed in the sidebar.
Any comments on that, Ms. Stang?
No, thank you.
All right, Ms. Heiss.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I visited with the child in person, and he is enrolled in a new school, and he isn't unhappy where he is. From my broader perspective, moving schools and those kinds of things are a big issue, so that if we could discuss things before we make moves, I think it's better for the child. So he is not in, he is having all of his needs met in the current placement. However, in my history with the case, this was not a placement that's available for permanence. Now, if you just ask the question a certain way, a lot of family members will answer in a certain way. But if you spend some time and get to know them and really evaluate, sometimes they will let you know that they're open to other permanent solutions. So I would like to be part of that planning. This little guy is a lot of energy. Aunt is driving him to school because he's out of district, so that he is with his aunt's son in that school district. And he has have to be reconnected with CMH in a new county. And last time he was in this jurisdiction, he had a YMCA membership. He has an awful lot of energy. And it was the department, I think, was able to secure him that YMCA membership, so we'll have to see if he can't get there. This placement has a lot of outdoor area, a lot of positives in this placement, and I would ask that we have a family team meeting to maybe plan if a change would be made in the future at the end of the semester, maybe at the end of the school year, so that permanence can be achieved. If where a problem arose, I would like to, and I would intend to ask today where this information came from that disrupted the placement. Thank you.
We just lost Kristen Smith. I was about to ask you if you'd like to have any witness testimony today, Ms. Thomas, but I think your witness just dropped out of a meeting.
Yes, I'm hopeful she'll log right back in. It said she just messaged that she got kicked out.
It just dropped. She just dropped out of the meeting. I did not do anything to assist in that process at all. So hopefully she will be able to log back in.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Smith, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I have no idea what just happened. I got like booted and couldn't get back in.
Yeah, that's very strange. All right, would you be able to join us with your camera on this afternoon by any chance?
I can't hear anything on your end about, can I call in?
Sure, go ahead.
You probably can't hear that. Yes.
Yes, call in.
It's like the beginning Zoom all over again.
Can you hear me now, Ms. Smith?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, much better. Deputy Ames.
Okay, I apologize.
Thank you.
Hopefully you can hear me also. If you can, please raise your hand and let me know when it's raised.
Yes, it's raised.
Okay. All right, Ms. Smith, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. As just a preliminary matter, have you heard from Ms. Hardnett recently?
Yes. Yes, I have. I spoke with her yesterday, and I asked her if she would be attending in person, or if she needed the Zoom information. She said that she was attending in person, but would take the Zoom information just in case. So I gave that to her yesterday, and then she texted me this morning and asked again what time it was. I told her 2:30, and she said, okay, I'm still planning on being in person. So to my knowledge, she was planning on coming in person, and she also did have the Zoom.
And have you heard from her? So you haven't heard from her since the time the hearing was scheduled at 2:30?
The last time I spoke with her was by text this morning.
Okay. Would you be able to send her a text message and ask if she would be willing to log in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I will say communication with her. I text her and she kind of responds maybe the next day. So
Okay.
it's not fairly quick.
Okay, that's fine. Just let me know, when you're done with that message, then I will just take your testimony.
Okay. I just sent her a text and asked her if she could get on Zoom.
Thank you for that. Okay, so during this last review period, you were assigned this case, correct, as a new foster care worker?
Yes.
Okay, and in your report, you've included the court report, the case service plan for Ms. Hardnett, the forensic fluids referral and screens, the psychological evaluation, the list of substance abuse and mental health treatment providers that were provided to Ms. Hardnett, the psychiatric referral or a screenshot from the prior worker, a safety plan for the child's current placement, and then an updated trauma screening checklist for the child. Are there any other documents that have been circulated since you've filed this court report?
No.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to the court report or any of the attachments?
Only a couple, just because I got a drug screen back. So she, Ladon screen on 11/15. That one was positive for THC, and then she had no shows on 11/21, and today she's required to screen, and so far she hasn't. But those are the only updates.
All right. And during this review period, how would you describe Ms. Hardnett's level of compliance with and benefit from her case service plan?
Very limited, minimal.
Your report indicates that her employment, she has only sent you one screenshot of a payment of like $53. Is that still accurate?
Yes.
And by any chance, were you able to verify whether she in fact is receiving disability income?
I was not. I had asked her to provide me that at our home visit on October 31st, and I never received anything after that.
Okay. And have you been able to go to her house or where she is staying?
Yeah, yes, I was.
Okay. Was that house appropriate?
Yes, I would say it was appropriate. It needed, I would say, a deep clean. The bedroom that potentially would have been for Samuel, it did have like 3 very large fish tanks in it. There wasn't much room in the bedroom itself, and the bed that she had for him was a toddler bed. So, I mean, but the home itself, it was appropriate.
You're not sure if she's named on the lease or anything like that?
No. And before I had visited the home, she had texted me, that she was looking for different housing, separate from the man that she lives with. And then shortly after, she said, well, yeah, you can come, visit the home. So it's just kind of unclear as to if she plans on residing in the home, if the man that she's living with is actually her significant other. Yeah, she did. I don't have a lease. I don't have, proof of payment, residency. I'm not, it was all kind of confusing.
Okay. And then for her transportation, she indicates she does have reliable transportation, but no proof of like insurance or like registration or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And in your report, it indicates that you've offered gas cards or you have given her gas cards. Can you just provide a little clarity on that and what they were for?
Yes. I have met with her in person 3 times. And on all 3 occasions, we provided her with a $25 Shell or BP gas card to use for either getting her from her home to see Sam on a weekend or for services. How she uses them is I'm not sure, because for the most part during this reporting, I gave her a gas card on a Friday, and then she failed to attend her drug screens or visit Sam that Sunday. So the agency is kind of trying to restrict gas cards and provide them, for parents to utilize for services, not necessarily for transportation to parenting times. But yes, gas cards have been provided to LaDawn by myself as well as a previous worker.
And for substance abuse treatment, you indicated that she has done a substance abuse assessment. Was that part of the psychological?
No, I believe her substance, I would have to review the file again, but I believe she had a substance abuse assessment completed. Maybe it was through CMH.
Okay.
Because then she was referred to Catholic Charities, I believe, before the case was transferred to us, and she was at one point engaging in outpatient services, but I don't think that it was very consistent. I think she attended a couple and then stopped coming.
Okay.
So I believe she would need a new substance abuse assessment in order to re-engage in services.
And through her drug screens, there are several no-shows, and it looks like, based on the update, there was only 4 provided samples. Is that still accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. And just to be clear, you're not requiring her to drive from Lincoln Park to Adrian, that the screening location is in fact in her area?
Yes. When I received the case, I met with her shortly after receiving the case. I believe it was a couple days. And I had explained to her that we could set up a screening location near Lincoln Park if that's where she would like services. I said, I just need to know which county we're working in so I don't duplicate services and what's going to work best for you. So she had stressed that she would prefer services in Lincoln Park. It would be easy for her. So her screening location is only 12 miles from her home. And then I also explained to her that, we send the drug screens to the same place for testing. So I said, if you are in town, and you are in Adrian, or you're going to be visiting Sam and it's easier, you can stop in, screen with me, and I will still send them. But she hasn't taken advantage of a closer screening location.
Okay. And for her mental health treatment to date, are you aware of any services that she's engaged in?
No. And I touched base with her earlier this week to see if she had made contact with any of the providers that I had given her, and she had informed me that she had not.
Your report includes some of the recommendations from the psychological evaluation, and you did go over those with her, correct?
Yes, I emailed them to her. I emailed the full report and I highlighted the recommendation and I encouraged her to review that. And then when I visited the home on the 31st of October, I brought hard copies and again went over those with her.
And did she make any indication to you whether she intended on participating in or following those recommendations?
She stated that she, was willing to do whatever it would take to get Sam back. I explained to her that her, substance abuse and mental health were the biggest things that she really needed to get a handle on. She was kind of all over the place at that home visit. She recently had injured, she broke part of her ankle or her leg. She wasn't following up with care for that when I explained to her, that she needed to establish care with a primary care doctor, and you could kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, establish a primary care doctor to help with that, as well as medication management. She wasn't interested in getting a primary care doctor at all and just said that essentially life was tough and she's just going to work through the pain. So she said she was open, to doing these things, but there was no follow through at all after that.
And then with parenting time, right now she's allowed to have parenting time that's supervised by her sister within the placement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And she's only attended half of the visits that have been offered?
Yes, and essentially a little less than half because she did not visit this last Sunday.
And she's still not contacting the child by phone either?
No.
Has she expressed to you any barriers to going to parenting time?
No, not really. Which she's not doing either. We have a group text between myself, LaDawn, and the caregiver. And initially I had asked that she communicate only through that text, and give the caregiver, half an hour, like heads up, like I'm coming, I'm on my way. That way, throughout the weekend, I could also be in the loop. She doesn't utilize that. She doesn't contact the caregiver. Sometimes she says, she doesn't have gas or transportation to get there. But like I said, then I provided her with a gas card on Friday and she still failed to attend on Sunday. So other than gas and finances, she hasn't provided reasons of why she's not visiting. One time, actually, I apologize. What she did, she went and got a tattoo on Sunday instead. And I know that she provided pictures of her arm sleeve to the caregiver and was excited to show off her new tattoo that day.
And financially, I mean, Ms. Harnett is reporting to you at least that she has employment and that she's also receiving supplemental income through disability. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
she's reported.
Okay. All right. And then right now your report indicates that now the agency is recommending a goal change to adoption. Is that still your recommendation?
Yes, it is.
Is the current placement willing to provide permanency through adoption?
Yes, she is.
Has the current placement relative caregiver explained what has happened between August and today that changed her mind?
Well, yes and no, because when we received the case, September 30th is when the case is transferred to us. And then Sam was placed with Mr. Boone. And when those concerns, which I don't want to back up too much, but I feel like I should explain kind of more of like the placement. Can I explain the placement change? Because it kind of...
well, I guess just right now, if you can just summarize why or what changed the current relative placement, like what changed for her to say that she would not be willing to adopt.
Okay.
Just generally
so when we did place Sam back with the aunt, she had said, and these were her words of what she had, explained to me. She said that she never requested replacement of Sam to begin with, and that the department had, I don't want to say convinced her, but they made it seem like Mr. Boone's placement would have been a better fit and that everything was going to be great there. And so she kind of just like went along with it. She told me that she never wanted Sam to be moved. So then when obviously we moved him back there, before we officially did that, I had asked, we always look for permanency and if it's a possibility. And she said, oh, absolutely. I'll take care of him for, as long as I have to. And I said, does that include permanency and adoption? And she said, yes. So
yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't on the case in September. I don't know why she requested replacement, or I don't know how that all transpired. I just know from when, we got the case and we put him back there, that was one of the, questions that we had asked was, is permanency an option? And she reports yes. And during every home visit, I also asked that again, and she still has reported yes.
Has she made any indication if the homeowner is also agreeable to that?
Yes, he is. And they're not legally married. So just in my experience, he wouldn't need to, if it came to it, he wouldn't need to adopt. Tremaine could adopt him on her own. He wouldn't necessarily have to adopt him as well.
But does she own that home that they're currently living in?
She does not.
Okay. And if the person who owns a home was not agreeable to it, would that jeopardize the child's stability in that home?
Yes, absolutely. But he is in agreement that Sam can stay in the home, and that if adoption is, where the case goes, that he is in support of it as well. He said that was not the plan, but plans change.
Based on the safety plan, it appears that the child does not have his own room in that home.
Not yet. The home is a very large house, and the basement is being refinished. And then Tremaine's son is going to relocate to the basement, and then Samuel would move into his bedroom.
Okay. And given all the changes that the child has experienced, where is he with getting therapy?
He is on a wait list right now with CMH. We had to change his insurance from just straight Medicaid to Meridian, and that took effect on November 1st.
In going back to this idea of a goal change for adoption, is there anything from the psychological evaluation that assisted in making that decision? Or can you just tell us a little more about why you believe adoption is the most appropriate goal for the child at this time?
Well, given the length of time that Sam's already been in care, and the pretty significant mental health concerns for LaDawn paired with substance abuse, the fact that she hasn't engaged in treatment or demonstrated, consistency, as well as her unfortunate lack of parenting time to keep that bond with Sam. He's been through obviously a lot and back and forth and, confused of his placement. And he deserves permanency, and at least with his aunt, she will maintain, that bond as long as it's appropriate and healthy.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else from your court report that you would like to highlight for the court's attention today?
No.
Okay. I think that Ms. Heiss will want to know more about the placement, so I'll leave her to ask you about that. Maybe I'll have follow-up questions, but for now, I'm done with questioning. And Your Honor, at this time, I would ask the court to accept the court report with the attachments.
I have no objection.
Any objection, Ms. Stang?
Objection.
Thank you. They are received. Questions for this witness, Ms. Stang?
Yes. Would you agree that when LaDawn has drug tested, he has only been positive for THC?
Yes.
And would you agree that that's an improvement from prior drug tests or drug issues, I should say, that brought her into this case?
Can you repeat that, Ms. Stang? It kind of cut in and out. I wasn't able to understand your question.
Yes, sorry. I said, would you agree that this is an improvement in results from what brought LaDawn matter?
I mean, yes and no. That's kind of a hard question, because, in her case service plan and, the no-shows are considered positive drug screens, even though we don't have them. In order to demonstrate your sobriety, they need to be consistent with no missed screens. And after her psychological evaluation, we actually increased her drug screens because she was only set to screen once a week. And then based on her recommendations from her psychological, it recommended multiple times a week. So the fact that she's, missing several, I obviously can't say that she's using, but I can't say that she isn't. She picks and chooses when she wants to drug screen.
Okay. And then there was a family team meeting mentioned earlier. Are you the one that invited people to that, or was somebody else responsible for that task?
So the family team meeting that took place was actually unplanned, and we really didn't know we were having a family team meeting until we were having the family team meeting. The D'Angelo, the prior placement at the time, he came, he had contacted us and said that essentially he was requesting replacement of Sam, and we had an FTM within a half an hour. So it was my responsibility to contact people, but given, I don't want to say that it was an emergency placement change, but for the fact that he wouldn't follow a safety plan, it kind of was an emergency. So finding him just a placement and contacting relatives was really my main priority.
Okay. Were there any notes that were taken during that meeting?
Yes, I have the family team meeting report that was provided to Ms. Heiss. I can forward it to you as well if you would like it.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Since I didn't receive those, were those given to LaDawn?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you fill out DHS 69 forms once the placement changes occurred?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you send those to either Ariel or myself?
I know, I don't believe so. I know I sent them to the court and to Lee Heiss. I don't believe that they were.
Why were those not provided to either me or Ariel?
Honestly, it was probably missed in all the paperwork and all the documentation between accepting the case from DHS and then 2 moves within the same week. And I would have to look at the DHS 69, but I'm not sure if at the bottom where it says placement change, if attorneys are listed. I think it says that the court and the GAL is to be notified of the move.
Okay. Did you notify LaDawn of the placement changes when those occurred?
Yes, she was present for both of those. She was present for the FTM by phone, and then she was present. Also, I had notified her that he would be moving back to Tremaine's after we contacted her for any additional relatives.
Okay.
For placement.
Did she have an opinion as to those moves that she expressed to you?
Yes. So when we met at D'Angelo's house, upon receiving the case and the concerns that were brought up, LaDawn was there in person because she was actually scheduled to visit with the boys later on that afternoon. And I had asked LaDawn if she had concerns for Sam or Manny. And she said, absolutely. And she wouldn't elaborate. I asked her, if she was aware of any sexual behaviors or sexual abuse or anything inappropriate that happened between the 2 of them. And she said, yes. And she wouldn't elaborate what it was, but she was definitely aware that in the past something had happened between the boys. She was there when we created the safety plan. We all discussed, our concerns, and they had, D'Angelo had said that he needed the weekend to talk to the older boys and the other household members to make sure everybody was on board because the safety plan obviously was affecting their day-to-day living. And then that's when he contacted me on Monday and said that maybe his house wasn't the best fit for Sam, and then requested his move.
Okay. And then in the safety plan that's attached to the filed documents, it states that Tremaine and Samuel share a bedroom. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Does the person who owns the home, do they also share a room with Tremaine and Samuel, or do they have their own bedroom?
No. the owner of the home has his own bedroom downstairs or on the main floor of the room. And then Tremaine has a very large bedroom that includes like a walk-in closet and then also a like workout room. But the room is very large. She is in there by herself. And then now with Sam being in there, Sam has his own twin bed on the other side of the room. But then he's going to be moving over to the other bedroom once it's available.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Heiss?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Smith, who was Sam seeing for counseling, when he was here in Lenawee?
I don't believe he was in counseling in Lenawee.
Was
Not
he
to
in
my
need of
knowledge.
counseling? Was he in need of
Absolutely.
counseling?
Absolutely.
And who was he in counseling with when he was placed with his aunt before this placement?
I believe he had, he had just the assessment at CMH. I don't think that he had started counseling.
Okay, did you check with any counselor before moving Sam?
No, he wasn't in counseling.
When you got the case, you noticed that there had been a history between these two boys. What did you find out?
So, like I said, we got the case on September 30th. On October 1st, a call-in was made to CPS regarding an incident that happened between Sam, another boy, and a little girl at school. When that intake call came in, I had contacted DHS and asked if there was a history of sexual behaviors, and they said no.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask for an adjournment at this point. I am going to put in a licensing complaint against this agency. This is a risk of harm to the child. Nobody in this entire team knew that there was a new complaint that happened in the placement. This is irresponsible, it's unprofessional, and I would like an adjournment.
This complaint didn't happen in...
No objection. I would request the same.
I take no position, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Heiss, how much time would you like?
A week, 10 days, and whenever after that you can get us back in.
All right, we can call it. I can give you a week and do it remotely. If you want to try, not even quite a week, or I can go probably 2 weeks out. The week of December 9th would be probably more flexible. To finish this up. You start at 8:30 Tuesday, December 10th, if that works for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, did you say Tuesday the 10th at 8:30?
I did.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I guess I don't think my supervisor is on the line, and she is also a licensing worker. I guess I'm just confused what is being adjourned for?
Ms. Heiss, would you like to articulate any more on the record on that point?
Yeah, I really need more investigation. The court report is blank of any factual parts that Ms. Smith is testifying about today, so that I need more time to investigate a new complaint that came in on October 1st. This is the first I'm hearing about it, and there are other issues that I want to bring witnesses in about mischaracterizations today in this testimony.
All right. Well, I can't disagree that much of the information that we heard today about the placement, for example, is very inconsistent with what has been placed on record multiple times before this. I do have significant concerns that this child was moved twice in a week without consulting with the guardian ad litem. I do have a longstanding practice in my court, Ms. Smith, that if there's a DHS 69, that it should be circulated to all parties, including the attorneys for the children, and I will hold fast to that. That has been communicated many times over the course of the time that I've been on the bench, frankly, and will remain the policy moving forward. If a DHS 69 is issued, it needs to go to all parties involved. The attorneys for the parent need to know what's happening. The department needs to know what's happening. And obviously the guardian ad litem needs to know what's happening. Before you move a child, it's imperative that you invite the guardian ad litem into that conversation. Especially in a situation like this, frankly, where you're brand new to the situation and there are things that have been in place that I authorized as a court that I am then also responsible for. When you're making these decisions without involving the proper stakeholders, it puts, frankly, all of us in a position where we have a lot of questions, and maybe you have very legitimate answers to those questions. But it shouldn't be something we have to explore on the record. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Heiss, but I think that is the crux of the reason that she's asking for an adjournment, because there are a lot of things that need to be explored that shouldn't have to be explored on the record.
Yes, I do agree with that.
All right, so that's what we're doing. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to do that, and I look forward to the updates too. Frankly, I obviously am very concerned about what's happening with this child and what's happening with this brother, and I look forward to those updates. On what do we say? December 10th at 8:30. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, all priorities remain in full force and effect. I will also include in that adjournment that no further moves are to be made with regard to placement unless it's a stipulated order that's been approved by all of the attorneys in this case, including our friend. We're back on record for a review in this case. This case was continued after some facts came out on the record that clearly needed to be reviewed and investigated further before proceeding with our formal review on record. So I look forward to any additional developments after appearances.
Lee Heiss, lawyer, guardian ad litem.
Ms. Tasha Thomas, counsel for the department.
Kristen Smith, foster care worker, cafeterias.
Alexis Stang on behalf of Ariel Berger and the respondent mother.
And have you heard from your client?
I have not.
All right. We have obviously started a little bit later today and confirmed that she is not here either. So. All right. At our last juncture, I think we were literally in the middle of the testimony from your client, Ms. Thomas, but does anyone wish to bring anything up preliminarily?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have an updated court report, and it lays out all the pieces that I was missing in the past. And Ms. Thomas has met with the agency and reported back to me, and I believe all the missing pieces have been filled in for my investigation, and all my concerns have been answered. And so I will rest on the same visit that I had with this child at his home before our last, for the review, before we adjourned. Thank you.
Anything preliminary, or would you like to dive into testimony?
I'll just take testimony from Ms. Smith, and I think that she can also answer questions about whether mom knew about the hearing.
All right, Ms. Smith, come on up to our witness. Kind of a busy week.
Already.
Yes.
Okay, wow, this is really on the side. Okay. Ms. Smith, you, at the last hearing, you were testifying about some placement changes for Sammy. We're not on YouTube. Oh, we are. Okay, for the child. So I just want to go back and just make sure we have everything about mom. I believe that you had testified to her compliance with the benefit from her case service plan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And has there been any update since then about her engagement with services?
No, not to my knowledge. The last time that I had communication with her was at our last court hearing. I had texted her and let her know that it was adjourned. I gave her the date and the time, and then I asked for her to confirm that she received that information, and she texted back and said yes, that she had received it.
And you had that as a screenshot in your report,
yes,
correct?
I did. And also attached was just a few other drug screens since the last hearing that she has also no call, no showed.
To the best of your knowledge, has since your last testimony, has she had any contact with her child through her sister?
She has not. She has not seen her son in a little over a month.
All right, so at the last hearing, there was some concern about the maybe abrupt change of placement for the child. And thank you for including all of the needed documents in your report. At this time, as relates to the placement change, are there any, can you please summarize again what happened that created, I'm going to use the word, an emergency need to change the child's placement?
Yeah, so when we received the case transferred from DHS on September 30th, we had our case transfer meeting. At that time, it seemed like it was a pretty cut and dry, case. They gave us updates on where mom was at, what was going on with placement. And then because there were no, immediate needs, at the day that we got the case, did not dive deep into the details of the case. The very next day, there was a call into CPS that at school there was an incident between the child and then 2 other children at the school. This child had convinced the other boy at school to touch, which he did. That was called in. So then when I found out and then I had to go meet with the child, we had concerns that, is there a history of some case? Was this something that, has happened in the past? Because I wasn't familiar with the case. We weren't really sure. At that point, we did contact DHS. They said that they were also shocked. The person that I spoke with at DHS said, to her knowledge, she wasn't aware that there was a history. At that time, I said, okay. Myself, my supervisor met with the child that day at the YMCA in conversation with him, kind of about just his placement, how things were going in the home, the normal conversation that we have with kids. He did disclose a lot of concerning statements. He said that his brother, he doesn't feel safe in the home with his brother unless Mr. Boone was there, the caregiver at the time. He said that his brother, he probably told us 8 to 10 times that his brother was inappropriate and does inappropriate things. We asked him to kind of elaborate on that, or can he explain what he does that's inappropriate? He had said that his brother will pull his own hands down and that he had exposed himself. And we said, well, what happened next? What did you do? He said that he did tell the caregiver, and when we asked what happened when he shared that information, he said he couldn't remember and then kind of got off topic and didn't want to talk about it. He also said that we asked him, when his brother does inappropriate things, what does he do? And he said sometimes he just pretends like he's napping or sleeping. So that conversation and all of those concerns was a second call in that we had reported concerns in the home. At that time, we had not met the caregiver. We had tried to contact him multiple times throughout the day at his home. We even called his work. We contacted DHS and asked if this was common and if he was difficult to get a hold of. They said, no, absolutely not. So they even tried to call him. He never responded to their calls either. When he finally did call me back, it was after hours, and I wasn't able to meet with him that night. I kind of explained what the concern was. And for that night, we asked for the child's brother, who was in the home that we had concerns for. We asked that he be safety planned out of the home and go stay with grandma just for the night. That way we could meet with the family the next day to get more information and details. So that took place that night. And then the very next day, my supervisor and I went over to the house to talk more in detail about the concerns that came up. And about halfway into this meeting, LaDawn also came. She was coming that day for a visit, so she was a part of the conversation. Mr. Boone did say right when we got there that he had guardianship over the other child, and he had for quite some time, and he's been making a lot of progress. So if by having this child in the home was going to jeopardize that, he stated that essentially if he had to pick one of the boys, he was going to care for the older one. So as we continued to talk and we asked LaDawn if she had concerns for the 2 siblings being under the same roof, she said, absolutely, I do. And when we asked her to elaborate, she said no. This was also the first time I had met with LaDawn, so I feel like there wasn't that rapport, so I wasn't really going to push at that time. We developed a safety plan, a potential safety plan, which is also attached to the second court report that I submitted. And it was suggested that the boys not share a bedroom. That maybe because they had conjoining bedrooms upstairs, that maybe a door alarm be put on because you have to pass through one door to get to the other. That the boys cannot, so they needed privacy for dressing, changing, bathing, and that Mr. Boone would have to supervise Sam, at all times. He had stated that he needed time to discuss the plan with the older boys in the home, because it would affect their day-to-day, and that he would essentially get back with us. So the next day, I believe, or I think it was the weekend. So I think Monday is when I had received a text, which is also attached to my court report, of his explanation, that maybe this home wasn't the best placement for him, essentially that he wasn't going to abide by the safety plan. So that day we had contacted his previous placement, which is now his placement, Tremaine, as well as the grandmother. And then we asked LaDawn, and we had an FTM if there was any other relatives that we could look for placement. Tremaine at the time didn't contact us back. She said she had talked to her husband, and when we ended up moving the child that day, it was essentially an emergency placement change because the current caregiver was not willing to abide by the safety plan. And given the length of time we had the case and this new information of possible abuse taking place between the brothers for the child's safety, we wanted to make sure he wasn't going to be in that home. So at that time he was placed in a unrelated licensed foster home. And then about 3 days later, is when Tremaine had contacted me and found out that we had moved him. She said, absolutely not. I want him, I will take him back, please, and then we ended up moving the child back to the aunt's house where he currently resides.
And I believe at the last hearing, there was a question about permanency and whether that's an option for this child with his aunt. To the best of your knowledge, would she be willing to provide permanency?
Yes. I think that there was, between communication with DHS and what she had told them, I don't know where, I feel like maybe we were told different things, or maybe, I don't know if her mind, changed, or if she realized the point of the case that we were now at. Because when I had talked to her and I explained, that we always hope that regardless of where the child goes, that permanency is an option, and we want to know that right off, the bat. So I had asked her, and she said, yes, I would care for him for as long as I needed to. And I said, even if that would mean, permanently. And she said, yes.
And I think I asked about this at the last hearing. There was a safety plan attached to your last report with regarding current placement in the child in the same room.
Correct.
Because there's construction happening at the homes.
Yes, the basement is currently being refinished. The last time I was there, I believe that they did have the carpet put down. So the Tremaine's son is going to be relocating and moving downstairs, and then this child would have his own bedroom. He would be moving to the other one.
So I think maybe just to understand, is there a reason that aunt is not in the same bedroom as her husband, or that she needed to be in the same bedroom as a child?
They are not married.
Okay.
They have been together for quite some time. I think 11 years, I believe. They have separate bedrooms. She says that he sleeps downstairs. He has his own room, and then she's upstairs. She said that either she sleeps hot, he sleeps cold. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't understand the dynamics.
Sure, but it wasn't.
We just established a safety plan because of the gender, role, the difference.
Okay, so it wasn't that she had to have 24/7 eyes on this child, or anything. This is just how the home was set up.
Correct.
Okay. And to be clear, the request is to change the role for adoption, correct?
Yes.
And if that request is granted, you have provided, I guess, in addition or in support of the department's previous petition, you have looked at that and would ask the court to accept that if the court changes the whole determination position.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like the court to know today?
I don't think so.
All right. With that, Your Honor, no further questions of Ms. Smith, and would move to admit the report from last week our last hearing, and then the court report for today.
I have no objection.
No objection.
Thank you. All of the exhibits from last week and this week are received. Any questions for this witness, Ms. Stang?
No, thank you.
Ms. Heiss?
Your Honor, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith, for clarifying all of that and for taking the time to put together that additional report. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
Your Honor, I'll ask Ms. Heiss, I asked Ms. Palm to be here as the former foster care worker, because I think at the last hearing, we were also a little concerned about permanence and whether the aunt was willing to provide that. And we were getting mixed messages from before the case was transferred. And so I would ask the court or Ms. Heiss if they would like to hear from Ms. Pelham on that point, and how things stood when she handed off the case to Ms. Smith.
In my capacity, I think that's something we work out between reviews. I don't think it's worth using court time unless there is a difference of opinion or, but we're probably all pulling in the same direction. So I don't need the testimony personally.
I too trust you to work it out in between.
Then I have no further witnesses. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss, anyone you'd like us to hear from today?
No witnesses today, Your Honor.
Well, comments in closing, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. At the last hearing, well, 2 hearings ago, when we had a review from a secret hearing, we had requested a goal change at that point in time. But Mom was also starting to maybe see the child a little more and seemed motivated to engage in her case service plan. And unfortunately, in this last review period, she's sort of fallen off the radar again. We understand that she is living in a different city, and it seems that a lot of efforts have been made to try to locate providers for her and communicate with her. But she also has an equal responsibility to communicate with the agency and to comply with her case service plan. Because of that lack of compliance, this child's pretty heightened needs. We are asking the court to reconsider the permanency goal again and change that to adoption. We're hopeful that this placement can be permanent and we can get those services in place for the child. I know that we've discussed getting some therapeutic services in there. I think there might have been some issue with insurance or payment and getting that switched over. But I think that we definitely have a competent caseworker who is very capable of getting all of those things in place for that child. Otherwise, you're asking for another review, at which point in time we're anticipating that would probably be a termination hearing as well. Thank you.
Comments, Ms. Stang?
No, thank you.
Ms. Heiss?
Thank you, Your Honor. The caseworker did come to the table with her legal advocate, so I'm not needed here to pick at her investigation, but I do need to point out just a few things about her investigation to emphasize as my duty to watch for the best interest of the child. I think that what we have here is that saying about, is this a legal case with a social work component, or is this a social work case with a legal component? And we can go round and round all day, because this is what I would have added to the discussion had I been included. Number one, unless I was included, I can't ask if forensic interviewing techniques were used at the interview. In today's investigation report, I don't see it. So in protecting this child, I need to consider that he may be the victim of a very serious crime, and you have to preserve evidence in a certain way. So to think that we didn't need the legal layer, I think is inaccurate. So then number two, if there was a CSC or a crime, a rape crime against this child, then I would have asked, can we use the CAC, the Child Advocacy Center, to do a forensic interview so that it's recorded, so that this child is under 10, we could use the tender years exception and he wouldn't have to testify. We don't get caught up on the child telling different stories to the social worker, to the police officer, to all those people, just an angle, a legal angle. So if there is a CSC here, I would say, let's have the Child Advocacy Center look at him, do the interviewing. I would say it's local, it's accessible to us. It's always been very helpful crunch. And maybe the answer would have been, oh, they're unavailable. So I would have had an answer, but I would have said, why don't the police interview if this child is a victim of a crime? Obviously, we believe the perpetrator is a minor, but still. And if we believe that it happened, I would have said, why are we this far down the line, over a month? He hasn't seen a counselor. He hasn't seen anybody. Not appropriate. He needs emergency victim services. I really believe strongly that to back him up and to say, this isn't your fault, this wasn't normal and healthy, you are normal and healthy, and to advocate some of those things, I really would. But, you know, we get this thing between Lenawee, CMH, and then he moved to Monroe, and he moved school districts, he moved CMHs, and that whole thing, and I know how this goes because he was in Monroe before, and to try and get him connected to a counselor is really difficult. I still think even in the updated report that we're referring to prior sexual conduct. What, who, where, when, where do we get that information? I would like to know that in helping the child. One more point is that, is this recitation of the interview with the child, is that what we're calling sexual assault? Because I'd like to just ask, boys share a room. The older boy pulled his pants down. Like, in my legal world, what are the elements of assault? It's not the only lens to look at an instance and say it's wrong against a child. It can be wrong before it elevates to a crime. But, you know, I just would have liked that a little bit clearer. You know, he pulled his pants down. Well, it's his bedroom. I've been in the bedroom. I know how the beds are arranged. I know how, you know, anyway, so I don't know that I'd like to have asked those questions. And then there's this blanket statement, there's prior sexual contact. I don't know where that comes from. Okay. And then I had not heard there was prior contact. Other thing that I would have said, last thing is, you know, when we say that this new placement is, she's not married, it's a very significant difference in the court report and in reality. She's not married. So if she's going to be assessed for adoption, she has no, I don't believe she has any title on the house. She has no lease in the house. These are things we work on through adoption, and she would have to be evicted. She's lived there a long time. But the legal lens to say, is this placement available for permanence? She has no income. She has no housing. She has housing, but she has she could get kicked out overnight, not quite 6 months-ish, you know. So some of those things I like to look at and just support the agency in bringing those pieces so that when we get to MCI looking at adoption, we're not surprised. And now we're a year down the line and the kid has to be moved again. And usually this placement has in the past asked for the child to be moved. A lot of times that alone knocks them out from having placement again. And I was there when we moved him. And it's not something that a family will say right out loud directly to your face. You really have to read some body language about, is she really up for placement? And maybe she's changed. But the last thing is just going forward, you know, the caseworkers and I do these visits out in the community. Usually we wait till I wait till the kids are home from school sometimes, and then the caregiver has to be home, or the kid has to be home from daycare. And this one's in Monroe, so, you know, his last placement was a really upstanding person in the community. I was so proud that we had a kid in this placement. I thought it was a chance for this kid to really have an opportunity in life. And I do believe the social worker took the correct steps, and we are at the correct place in this case. But I had certain commitments out in the field, and I had certain, you know, when I called him to see the child and he let me know that he hadn't been there for a month. Now, part of that is my fault because I had a DHS 69. The caseworker did what she was supposed to do after all the changes were made. She did let me know in the file, and I missed it. She let me know that the child had been moved, but I would like you to know that I really take seriously my input, that I could have had that legal layer, getting the child right. The last thing, sorry, Judge, back up, you know, the offending child, had we left the child there, let's have an assessment. We have some good community resources that are available to our court to get an assessment and maybe work on this and maybe support the family, or maybe that child has to leave for some redirection. I don't know. I that's a little, but it either happened or it didn't, you know, and if it didn't happen or it's not prosecutable, this was a big change. But the child's needs are being met. I've been to his place. I have met with him. I've met with his caregiver, and she has a teenage son in the home, and I met with a significant other. But anyway, so this case is on track. It's going well. I predict that I do recommend that the goal change to adoption, and I know it's in good hands moving forward, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Thomas, would you like another opportunity to address a couple things that Ms. Heiss brought up?
I would just like to add that based on conversations with the agency, law enforcement is involved, so there is an ongoing investigation. I believe through that avenue, some of the things that Ms. Heiss rightfully brought up, like the SDAC interview, and making sure that forensic interviewing protocols followed and all of that would take place through that process. Personally was a little confused as I'm used to getting MIC investigations, maltreatment care investigations, when children are in foster care and we get complaints called in. And this process really educated me into the fact that the calls were not made on the caregiver. And so it was then sent to the foster care worker to sort of do that investigation process. So some of the things that we might typically see through like the standard forensic interviewing, we didn't get that here because I think it was referred to the first one was referred to the foster care agency, and then the second one, because of the allegations, was sent to law enforcement. So I just want to be clear on that, on some of those points. I think a lot of the questions could also be answered in a family team meeting as far as the details. I think that we get stuck in this position of how much do we disclose and how much information do we give and put onto the record, and how much do we want to protect and make sure that we can give enough information but still protect the integrity of maybe individuals who are not necessarily involved, like the other minor child in this case. But I'm happy to continue to have meetings with LJL and sort of make sure everyone is brought up to speed. I think Ms. Heiss also brings up a lot of good points about the permanence of this placement, but that does not change our request at this time for the goal change. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review hearing and permanency planning hearing. There's a lot of moving parts in this one, and Ms. Smith made sure to include that screenshot to let us know that the mom in this case was fully aware that today's hearing was happening. She's been to a few hearings in the past, and despite a previous request to change the goal in this case, the court did allow her some additional time because of that particular review period. She had demonstrated some sobriety and some progress. Unfortunately, that was not something that we could see her sustain. And then, of course, there were many, many things that happened in between that hearing where she had joined us and today. But the obligation of the court remains to look at the best interest of the child, to look at permanency and stability for this child, and adoption is the correct goal for him at this point. He has an unknown putative father, and his biological mother, despite her efforts, has been unable to take advantage of the case services such that she's able to care for him. Obviously, she's not here today. There remains a significant risk of harm associated with returning him to her care for all the reasons expressed in the petition originally, including the transiency, the substances, the struggle with substance use, and how all of that impacts her child. So the goal moving forward will be adoption for this minor child. I would like to have updates on the criminal investigation and the CSC or the CAC interview as that goes along. I would like to see some triage services for the child. As Ms. Heiss pointed out, we do have a couple of providers in our community that are educated around some of these issues, at least one through Parkside. And then we have a provider that we typically see through campus, Mr. Jeff Davis, that may be inclined to do at least something preliminarily for the child that's the subject of jurisdiction of this court. In this case, I don't have jurisdiction over the other kid, or I'd send him to, frankly. And that may be the case in the future. But for today, obviously the child, which is the subject of this case, is our priority. And I think I agree wholeheartedly with Ms. Heiss's assessment of his current needs under the circumstances. So we'll look for Ms. Smith to do that referral. I would also suggest you reach out directly to the CAC, who also have some of those services in place. And if they're already going to be doing an interview with this child, they may be able to help offer some of those services. So we'll look for updates on those points specifically when we come back. Don't forget to invite Ms. Heiss to those meetings in the future. I don't think she'll probably ever forget at this point, Ms. Smith. But I think it's moving the case. I agree that the case is moving forward. We do have a diligent foster care case manager associated with it. So some difficult things have happened, but I think the case is on track. I agree. I'll set a review, permanency planning hearing, and leave enough space in there in case the department is able to timely file and serve the petition for termination of parental rights. We are today at our 4th review hearing with a removal date of January 4th, 2024. Ms. Harden has had more than 6 months in order to try to make progress on her case services. Unfortunately, she's been able to do that. By the time we come back, we'll be nearly at 15 months from now. We're going to go into the last week of February for that purpose. We're going to set this for the afternoon of Tuesday, the 25th. Unless you think you need less, I can give you 2:30 if you think it's only going to take 2 hours. Nope. 1:30 is fine. I just didn't hear well. That's okay. Ms. Sims, do you think you need the whole afternoon?
No, I think an hour and a half, an hour per presentation and half hour for findings or so.
Okay, so let's go ahead and set this then for 2:30 p.m. So it'll be 2:30 on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 for permanency and review and termination. That will also be contained in the court order, the goal change as well as the directive to file that petition. So hopefully that's timely filed and served, and we'll be able to look at those issues on the 25th. In the meantime, we'll stay with that relative placement that is the safest in these restrictive and other circumstances. Trust Ms. Smith with the triage. And unless there's any questions, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The order will contain the rest of the file.